Good to see you.
Oh, geez.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Oh, guys, it's still Happy New Year. We haven't been able to see each other since then.
Nope, we haven't.
Wow, that is crazy.
All right, we are at 5:30 and we want to welcome everyone to the Board of Education, our first board meeting for the year. So it would be appropriate to say Happy New Year to everyone. We're going to call our meeting to order, and we are now moving to 1.2, and we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by our wonderful Jones Elementary students. Are they on?
Looks like they're muted.
Yes. IT, are they coming on, or? No, we can't hear. Okay, Dr. Hill, could you go ahead and lead us?
I will. Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
One
nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you for filling in. We definitely will get them back on another meeting for sure, which I have asked that our young people lead us in the pledge anyway. They're doing a great job at their schools. So I will now move to 1.3, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there, Dr. Volkmer, did you have something that you were pulling, or no? Karen mentioned, okay, no problem. Then if not, we will go ahead and take the vote. Dr. Flores.
I think we
Yes.
do, excuse me, Madam President, I apologize, I was on mute. Karen, I do believe we are pulling one of the action items after closed session. I'm double checking, apologize.
Okay.
We're gonna pull 4.5.
Okay, thank you. All right, pulling 4.5. Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
and Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to our inspiration of the night, 1.4 will be given by Mr. Danny Tillman.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by giving condolences to the Daniels family. Mr. William Danny Daniels passed away recently from complications associated with COVID-19. He was a grandfather and a father and a friend of many in our community. He was the grandfather of Jaden Daniels, who is at playing football in Arizona and had his number retired at Cajon High School. But he mentored many young men and women in our community, and I just wanted to make sure that I recognize him. He was a long-time county employee, and I met him when I was a student intern at the gas pumps, actually 40 years ago.
Wow.
And he got the terrible disease and passed away. I just saw him 2 or 3 weeks ago at the stop sign, and was going to blow the horn. I said, "Nah, I'll see him later." And just one of the things you just regret. But he was just a beautiful person and helped many, many people. So I wanted to recognize him tonight and ask that you keep his family in prayers. And then, they have a headline. I have a headline here that says UK to close all London primary schools as coronavirus cases surge, and it's associated with the B11 mutant variant of the virus. And I say that because for a long time, people were reaching out to me saying, well, look what they're doing in Europe, and their schools are open, and all of a sudden, it switched overnight, and they have many, many young people going to the hospital and contracting the virus. So it's an unknown time that we're in right now. And they say that 117 variant is here in our area. But I'd like to report that no students in the San Bernardino City Unified School District have contracted the deadly COVID-19 virus at any of our schools. And that's because we made the decision to keep our schools closed. And I think that was the right decision for this board to do. It was a tough decision. I know it's not the best environment for education, but it's definitely the safest environment that we're in right now. And when you look at the numbers in terms of the ICU beds available and ventilators and the surge of the virus right now, things are not getting better. The only good thing right now is the fact that the vaccine is here and people are able to get the vaccine. And as soon as I'm told by my job that I can get the vaccine, I will be the first to tell everybody that I'm getting it. And I hope to encourage people to get it. There are a lot of people close to me who have chosen not to get the vaccine. But we have to remember that there's nothing magical about the vaccine being there if you do not get vaccinated. So I hope that our district is working towards making plans to get our staff vaccinated, those who want to, because that will be the time when we get enough employees vaccinated that we truly can open up schools and go back to business as usual and give our students what they deserve, and that's an in-person education. I've always said that when in politics, when you see things that don't make sense, it's because there's something political involved. And I truly believe that the switching the governor now talking about finding some way to go back and open schools in February makes no sense at all. We're in purple, the numbers are off the scale. It's the worst they've ever been. Any given day, you'll have 10, 20 deaths. So I don't know how they plan on doing it, but I hope this board will continue to be vigilant and make sure that we don't bring our students into an environment until we truly believe that it's safe to be in that environment. And I think in the end, the goal should be to bring everyone back once we get vaccinated. And that is only a few months away. I know that probably doesn't sound very inspirational, but it's inspirational to me to know that there's a solution nearby and that we've done the right thing to this point. And that is my comments for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman, for that. Dr. Ford, did you have something on board? I know we have a pretty nice presentation coming up, and we're gonna start the year off well. So my intentions is to stay on track. Dr.
I will. It's just real brief. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. I think your words are profound, and I feel that this board did the right thing. We were the first ones, and also the 7 largest urban school districts also concur with us, and we need to stay safe. I'm up north in my little town of Madera, where I was born and raised. They are not accepting any ambulances or any new patients because they are full. So that's how bad the COVID virus is. And I know that in San Bernardino, it's surging and surging, and it's better for us to just stay safe and prevent any more deaths or any more, infection in our community. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. I always appreciate your candidness.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Tillman, you're on my screen again, and we're going to move to 2.1, and I would like you to read the resolution in recognition of Martin Luther King Jr., if you can.
My pleasure. Whereas the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15th, 1929, and dedicated his life to the pursuit of equality for all. And Dr. King delivered the most famous of his speeches, quote unquote, "I Have a Dream," on August 28, 1963. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a leading civil rights advocate of his time, spearheading the civil rights movement in the United States during the 1950s and 1960s, and earned worldwide recognition as an eloquent and articulate spokesperson for equality and nonviolence. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. paid the ultimate sacrifice when he was assassinated on April the 4th, 1968, and to remember the life, work, and dream of Dr. King, a national holiday was first observed on January 20th, 1986. And whereas on the national holiday honoring Dr. King and throughout the year, you must remember this message and recommit to his goal of a free and just nation. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District observes and celebrates the national holiday honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. while honoring his example of nonviolence, courage, compassion, dignity, and public service, and hereby encourages all the schools of the district to express their heartfelt appreciation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and to honor his legacy as a man of determination and dignity. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. 2.2, resolution in recognition of African American History Month. And Dr. Flores, would you read that for us, please?
Just one moment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The San Bernardino City Unified District joins other organizations in towns and cities in our state and nation in observing and recognizing the achievements of our citizens of African descent. Whereas Americans of African descent contributed to the development of our nation in countless ways and participated in every effort to secure, protect, and maintain the essence of and substance of American democracy. And whereas African American history reflects a spirit of determination, perseverance, ingenuity, and cultural pride in the struggle to share equally in the opportunities of our nation. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino Unified School District declares February 2021 as a period of recognition of African American history and encourages all district schools to undertake educational activities that commemorate the history and contributions of African American citizens. So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
and Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. We're moving now to 2.3, resolution in recognition of National School Counseling Week. Ms. Ceballos, are you able to read that one for us tonight?
Yes. Whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help families focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors are instrumental in helping students, teachers, and families deal with personal trauma, as well as tragedies in their communities and the United States. And whereas as students cope with drastic shift in the learning environment due to school closures, school counselors have met the challenge by responding to students' new and ongoing needs through academic planning, developing social emotional learning, competencies, coping strategies, and new ways to socialize, and even through life-saving interventions in some cases. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District joins California and the nation in recognizing February 1st to the 5th, 2021 as National School Counseling Week, and encourages all of our schools to promote awareness of the role school counselors play in preparing students for fulfilling lives as contributing members of society. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. If there is no additional comments, Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. We're now moving to 2.4, resolution in recognition of Ronald Reagan Day. And Dr. Wyatt, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. All righty. Resolution in recognition of Ronald Reagan Day. February 6th of each year has officially been designated as Ronald Reagan Day in California. On February 6th, the San Mateo City Unified School District joins other organizations across California in recognizing the achievements of our 33rd governor and our nation's 40th president. Whereas Ronald Wilson Reagan was born on February 6, 1911, and served as California governor from 1967 to 1975. And whereas known for his small town values of hard work, tolerance, and the importance of education, Ronald Reagan was sworn in as the nation's 40th president on January 20th, 1981, and continued to serve until 1989, a period where our nation experienced unprecedented economic growth and prosperity. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Mateo State Unified School District encourages all district schools to undertake educational activities on February 6, 2021, to honor the life and accomplishments of Ronald Reagan. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no further discussion, Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos,
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt,
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you so much. And moving to 2.5, resolution in remembrance of former board member, Dr. John Henry Woods Jr. And if you all don't mind, I'd like to read the resolution. When I was first elected to the Board of Education, Dr. Woods was actually scheduled to swear me in, and he fell under the weather. And so for those of you that know, his son, Reginald Woods, he ended up swearing me in. And we definitely are going to miss this wonderful man. And I definitely would like to honor him by reading this resolution. Whereas Dr. John Henry Woods Jr. made history as the first African-American trustee elected to serve on the San Bernardino City Unified School District Board of Education, serving on the governing body from the late 1960s until the early 1970s. And whereas in addition to serving as the Board of Education member, Dr. John Henry Woods Jr. served his community in many capacities and was pastor of Praise Christian Center in Montclair, among other congregations. And whereas Dr. John Henry Woods Jr. was born to John Woods Sr. and Beatrice Moore Woods on December 23rd, 1936 in Nashville, Tennessee, and attended Tennessee State University as a civil engineering student and also starred in basketball with professional teams courting him. And whereas Dr. John Henry Woods Jr. passed away on January 8th, 2021, and is survived by his children, Reginald Woods, Dexter Woods, Regina Prater Woods, and Dominique Woods, and was preceded by his wife of 60 years, Willa Marie Woods. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District honors the life and legacy of Dr. John Henry Woods Jr. and sends its deepest condolences to his family and all those who knew him.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Just want to note that he was a minister at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. And as a kid, I remember him saying, "Would a man rob God?" He said, if you weren't paying your tithes, you were robbing God. He used to scare me. But aye.
Thank you. Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
And Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you so much. At this time, Dr. Volkemer, I understand we might have some special people on the line, and you can acknowledge, or they may be at home watching us somewhere.
We do. Thank you, President Rogers. Just want to recognize two of the newest members of our management team, board both have been longstanding members of our team in general for a number of years. And we have two new administrative assistants. Kathy Delatorre is the new administrative assistant in the Educational Services Division. You see Anna clapping, you see me crying because Kathy came from our office, but she'll do a terrific job for Anna. She's a wonderful, wonderful member of our team. And then Cecilia Cragg, Administrative Assistant, Student Services. She'll be working with Dr. Rodriguez, both again, longtime employees and wonderful members of our district going through our onboarding program. And I just want to say welcome to them this evening.
Congratulations to you all. We look forward to seeing you soon. All right, we are now moving to 3.1. Is there any closed session comments, Ms. Cunningham?
No, there is not.
All right, we'll move to 3.2 and we will adjourn to closed session. So board members, let's log out and log back into our closed session. And to our viewing audience, we will see you shortly.
There are many departments in the San Bernardino City Unified School District that continue to function behind the scenes to provide services to our school sites during these times of distance learning. One of these departments is the Printing Services Department. Here, school sites are able to request printing materials for all their students' distance learning needs and enhance their educational experience. These essential workers produce volumes of printed material our students use in classes, create banners to promote school happenings, and mail home important messages to keep families informed. We want families to know that everyone in the San Bernardino City Unified School District, including the heroes in our Printing Services Department, are always here to support them by continuing to serve our students and teachers during these challenging times. This is another example that the San Bernardino City Unified School District continues to make hope happen for the San Bernardino community. And remember, we're all in this together.
Hey there, Dr. Wyatt. Let's see, who else do I see?
As I say, it wasn't letting me unmute for a second there, but now it is.
Yes,
I can't even see everybody.
I don't see the other board members, just you and I so far.
Abigail's here, Myra's here. Oh, there we go. There's the big screen. Wow, that's a lot of people.
Let's see here.
Let's see.
I see Dr. Hill.
There's Danny, there's Barbara, there's Margaret.
Yeah, I'm back.
Is Miss Bios back?
Yes. She's
Okay,
just her camera's on.
Okay, so I think I've seen everybody. Okay, thank you all. We are now back from our closed session. And we are at 4.1, high school vice principal, human resources. And I'm going to read, be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the appointment of the following employee: Vincent Warsaw, high school vice principal, San Gorgonio, effective date, working year, and salary to be determined.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. If there's no further discussion, we will vote. Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. 4.2, HR Certificate 19-20-06, Human Resources. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the resignation agreement and general release pertaining to the following certificated employee and his or her employment with the district. HR Certificate 19-20-06.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. If there's no discussion further, Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. All right. Moving to 4.3, HR Classified 20-21-08, ER Human Resources. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charge to dismiss the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district, HR Class 20-21-08-ER.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. If there's no further discussion, Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Moving on to 4.4, classified 20-21-09 ER. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to suspend without pay for 3 days the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district, HR Class 20-21-09-ER.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no further discussion, Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. 4.5, HR Class 20-21-10-ER.
That item was pulled, Madam President.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why there's nothing there. Okay, thank you. We will now move to 5.1. Open up my screen again. We will now conduct a public hearing on 5.1, public hearing requirements for inter-fund borrowing for fiscal year 20 2020-2021. The hearing is now open. I'm banging. Are there any public comments?
No, there are not.
All right. The public hearing is now closed. Board, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. If no further discussion, Dr. Flores,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman,
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos, Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms.
Aye. Sorry.
That's Ms. Okay. Ms. Rosales Medina,
Aye.
Dr. Hill,
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. We are now at 6.1, public comments. And as we mentioned at our last board meeting, which was last year, we had a request. And again, the district had been working on our community being able to give their public comments live. And so I am going to first read. Computer is going really, really slow. Public comments is the time during the agenda when the board is prepared to receive comments from the public within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as policies, regulations, and procedures of the district, comments on programs, services, or operations of the district, or fiscal matters of the district. You may address your comments to specific items on the agenda. However, this is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda. Pursuant to the provision of the Governor's Executive Order N29-20, dated March 17, 2020, certain requirements of the Ralph M. Brown Act are suspended. If you would like to make a live comment at district board meetings, a registration form is required. Forms are found on the district's website and Facebook. This registration form is available for 24 hours prior to all scheduled Board of Education meetings and will close at 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Public comments are still limited to 5 minutes per person. A timer will be visible on the screen during your comments. Participants are reminded that any inappropriate language or image will forfeit their registration and they will immediately be removed from the meeting. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. And I believe communications will be taking it from here.
I'll start out with the names, President Rogers. We have 4 comments tonight, I believe. Our first one is from Valerie Leonardi. If you could please unmute now.
Have I succeeded in unmuting?
Yes, you have.
Oh, good.
Welcome.
Zoom is new for me. I know Google Meet. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so very much for putting student safety and student health as a priority for our school district. And I'm proud that our district was one of the first districts to make a decision that student health was most important. My second thing I would like to do is read a letter with excerpts from Dr. Anthony Leonardi. It is my strong recommendation that classes be held remotely and people should not be in the same room because the novel coronavirus is too easily spread by air and too easily spread during asymptomatic periods. With the new mutation data that has been shared with the world, more precaution is warranted. This is because 1, it appears more contagious, and 2, it is suggested to infect children more easily. Studies have shown the new variant is preferentially infecting primary school children and teenagers with 10 to 100 times the amount of virus before. The new strain makes up the majority of infections in people below the age of 20. The virus spreads in air between people near each other and downwind of any breath, air, movement. Therefore, an air filter or purifier will not prevent one person from infecting another that is near them away from an air filter or purifier. A filter in an HVAC system would not prevent spread within rooms, like bathrooms where people congregate. In fact, urinals can spread coronavirus. People in the same room with an infected person remain at risk. Air filters and purifiers would have to clean all of the air that exited someone's lungs before it entered another person's lungs. They cannot do this. This is why people wear N95 masks on their face. Air filters and purifiers in hospitals are unable to control this virus. One study showed 5.5% of patients in the hospital were workers themselves, wearing protective gear in addition to hospital air filters and purifiers. In my time at Johns Hopkins, we looked at HVAC systems and their designs in the spread of harmful viruses in biodefense class, and I can tell you it is not safe to be in a room, let alone a building with an infected person where they have been. The new D614G mutation on the virus makes it even more infectious, so I cannot stress enough that any type of indoor presence would increase cases. Therefore, education be best delivered at home at this time. The virus spreads asymptomatically and pre-symptomatically before symptoms, so temperature checks do not detect all or even most infected people. By the time one person may have a fever, there is likely another. A recent study came out showing 70% of people that had symptoms after mild to moderate infection longer than a month had organ damage. In this study, the average age was 44. Organ damage included lung 33%, heart 32%, kidneys 12%, liver 10%, pancreas 17%, and spleen 6%. Some people had multiple organs damaged. Unfortunately, children have also been seen to suffer the same chronic symptoms of COVID-19 like adults, with 10% still having symptoms past 17 days. Despite high rates of survival, they may be at risk of the same recent findings in adults, like rare reports of Parkinson's disease after infection. Also, children were found to carry as much and sometimes 10 times more virus than adults, and adults were shown to be reinfected, with the second time being much worse. The virus is cruel in this regard. It distorts the immune system where it infects, harming long-term immunity and leaving them open to reinfection, which is something, in my opinion, the vaccine will prevent. In another study, adults were found to have persistent virus 3 months out in their intestines, and it appeared to be challenging the immune system. In another study, yet to be proven or disproven, the virus may be replicating inside CD4 T cells, the cells responsible for disease control. In an early analysis by Cambridge and MIT, scientists have early data showing the virus may insert pieces of its genome in the human DNA, not quite like HIV, but similar.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Anthony Leonardi. If you're available, please unmute.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm just going to briefly read a letter that you should have a copy of the charts that are in the letter. So hopefully you do, and you'll be able to see what I refer to. Okay, so the goal of opening is, it's ambitious and it's commendable, and it's great that Governor Newsom is offering funds to do so, but unfortunately, I don't think it'll be possible or safe because of especially because of the new variant, the B117 strain. So to safely open, really, community spread outside of classrooms needs to be halted with either safety measures, vaccines, or both. So if you look at the first chart, this is the UK, the United Kingdom, which is, in Europe. right now. So they've had an explosion of B117, and basically this virus is able to transmit between children more easily. It's much more infectious. It has a few mutations also that make it so that people who were infected with a first strain earlier can now be reinfected as well. So how did it happen? Well, the UK, they decided to keep their schools open during their lockdowns. They didn't really have lockdowns. So what happened was kids just ended up passing it around to each other. Kids were getting infected. So when you do that, the virus is able to adapt to the population that is getting infected. So the virus was able to adapt to children, basically, in my opinion. So they noticed when they started gathering information, they noticed that the strain, it was higher in children than in adults. The amount of the proportion of infected people it was enriched for the strain in children. So that can either be because they kept their schools open, so any new strain would be more popular in schools because that's where transmission is happening, or it's because the strain is better at infecting kids. So in either of those two possibilities, keeping schools open was a mistake, either because it's infecting kids more, or because it's easier because the schools are open, or because it's easier to transmit between kids. So the virus isn't benign for kids. We don't know the long-term effects, but this virus has what's called a super antigen, okay? So what that does is it stimulates the immune system very broadly, and it creates what you may have heard as a cytokine storm. So cytokine storms also happen in Ebola virus. So the viruses with super antigens are these, okay? This is it. It's a short list of human viruses with super antigens, okay? SARS-CoV-2 is one, rabies is the other, Epstein-Barr is the third, human endogenous retrovirus, and HIV, and Ebola virus, and that's it. It's a short list. This super antigen is likely causing the syndrome in kids, that MIS-C, the multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. I think based on all of this, and because of new information showing that children are having organ damage, especially blood vessel damage, even when they were asymptomatic, I think kids will need vaccination. I say this as an immunologist. So I think kids will need the vaccination. And I think it's absolutely going to be safe for kids, and it's going to be the risk versus benefit. It's going to be mild symptoms of the vaccine for a short amount of time. And the benefit is not having this invisible organ damage. That's it. And if you guys have any questions, you can email me or call. Thank you.
Mr. Leonardi, we do have one question from board member Dr. Flores.
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Leonardi. Thank you for commenting. I really appreciate your expertise. I just want to clarify your statement about vaccinations. How crucial is that in terms of us returning person to person?
So for adults, everybody absolutely needs to be vaccinated without a question, I think, okay? Because the illness that it's going to create is not just the acute illness, it's causing people to have autoimmunity and other issues down the line. And then the second issue about vaccination for children, I think that here's the thing, okay? As time goes on, we keep seeing it being worse and worse in children. It's not getting better. And we used to say, okay, well, kids don't die as adults do. But when you're giving kids long-term organ damage and vascular damage and what could be brain damage, and now we're seeing evidence of the brain damage and of the blood vessel damage, I think this is not as benign in kids as we thought. And based on this, this is way worse than some of the diseases we vaccinated against in children. So I think what's going to happen is, unfortunately, unfortunately, the science has lagged for everybody, and in that, the policy has lagged. So what's going to happen is so my background is in immunology. I, in fact, I worked on T cells and I made, I did some big things in T cell immunology. And as someone who looks at what the future is, what's going to happen and what is happening, I'm almost 100% sure kids are going to start being vaccinated for this to protect them from the long-term effects of the virus and from reinfection, because that's also going to be a possibility, not a possibility, an inevitability. Reinfections are going to happen. So the only way to get back to normal is if children are vaccinated too.
Thank you very much, Dr. Leonardi.
And Dr. Leonardi, there is one other question, clarifying question for Mr. Tillman.
Dr. Leonardi, you're from San Bernardino?
That's right, Dr. Tillman. Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, I'm from Arroyo Valley.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So what schools did you attend in San Bernardino?
So first I went to, there was a little school up by Cal State. Not Ramon Alessandro, that's where I went afterwards, but Miss Tardy was my teacher for second grade. I can't remember the name of the school. But then I went to Ramona Alessandro. Then I went to Richardson. Then I went to Arroyo. Yeah.
And what year did you graduate from Arroyo?
2005.
Okay, so you knew my daughters probably Eva and Denise.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming back and giving your input. I'm sure it's because you're from here that you have the love and the concern for our community. So I really appreciate your input from the very beginning.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I could help.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
The next speaker is Erica Gomez. If you could please unmute now.
Erica, are you there?
Karen, this is Maria Garcia from Communications. I'm not finding her on the screen to unmute her.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one and see if she comes back on. Let me know. Our last speaker, if they're there, they didn't provide a name. They just said they were a concerned parent. So if they are on the line, could they please unmute? Doesn't sound like they are. I'll try one more time for Erica Gomez, if you're available. President Rogers, I guess they are not.
Yes, I was looking through the screen. I didn't see anyone either. Okay, well, you can let me know if something kind of changes down the way. All right, thank you again for those comments. And we are now moving to our reports and comments by you.
Madam President,
Mm-hmm.
Can I just thank the staff for figuring out how to have the public comment live and not have to be read. It adds a lot to it to hear it directly from the person's own voice. So thank you to the staff for working diligently to find a technical solution.
Great job. And you notice they have a timer up there now, so I'm taking those minutes off of your board comments at the end. All right, reports and comments by union organizations. 7.1, we'll begin with San Bernardino Teachers Association.
Good evening, President Rogers.
Evening.
Members of the board, Cabinet, Superintendent Volkemer. I'm Ashley Vitas-Alcala, President of the San Bernardino Teachers Association. And tonight I'm speaking to you on behalf of the 3,000 members of SBTA. Since we last met in December, the COVID-19 numbers in our school district and county, sadly, have continued to rise at an alarmingly steady rate due to the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday surges. Current SBC USD case rates are now at 155 cases per 100,000. Just for perspective, In December, when we met, that number was 60 cases per 100,000. We are still under a stay-at-home order due to the ICU capacity for Southern California now at 0%. And we know that our emergency medical teams are not going to be transporting patients to the hospital as they normally would for regular routine issues that folks may be having. Also alarming, the last time the board met, our case numbers for children ages 5 to 19 was at 2,399. Now that number has increased to 4,303, an increase of over 2,000 positive COVID cases in our students within our district in 1 month. As Mr. Tillman mentioned earlier, several weeks ago, the governor released California's Safe Schools for All plan about how to return to in-person learning. And tonight, the district will be presenting some details of this plan to the board. Interestingly, included in this plan are incentive grants for school districts to reopen for in-person learning, provided that your 7-day average case rate is no more than 25 per 100,000. We are currently at 155 cases per 100,000 for our district. This plan also requires all labor negotiations to be completed by February 1st for in-person learning models, as well as mandating strict safety protocols, frequent COVID testing for all staff and students, depending on your case rates and your tier for your county. And not only that, it has yet to be approved by the legislature or have any actual monies allocated to it. These numbers, again, reaffirm that the safest way for us to deliver instruction remains keeping all students and staff in distance learning, as this board voted to do for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. For the state to come out and incentivize returning to learn when the numbers are off the charts at a higher level than we have seen since the pandemic began a year ago this week, now is not the time to change course, especially since we are just now seeing the rollout of our COVID vaccines for education employees. Many employees in our unit who reside in Riverside County, myself included, are able to access these vaccines, and we expect that San Bernardino County will move to access for Tier 1B, which our group is a part of soon. Our community is suffering greatly right now. And as you heard from Dr. Leonardi, new variants of this virus are being discovered. They are much more contagious and can spread with ease amongst children. And as a result, schools in the UK and Europe have shuttered their schools again for in-person learning. We must continue as a community to be vigilant and to do our part to flatten the curve. That means staying in distance learning, wearing our masks, socially distancing, and washing our hands. And we need to get vaccinated, and when the opportunity arises for us. And once all of those pieces are put together and we see the numbers start to decline and our immunity rises because people are getting vaccinated and have access to vaccines, only then can we start to discuss a return to in-person learning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Bettis Alacala. And we are now moving to 7.2, California School Employees Association. Hello, Ben.
Hello. Good evening, President Rogers, members of the board, Superintendent Volkmer. My name is Ben Salgado. I'm currently the second vice president of California School Employee Association. I am here on behalf of CSEA, 2,000 members strong and growing. On behalf of CSEA, we would like to offer our deepest condolences and prayers to anyone that has lost a loved one or anyone that is sick from this pandemic. And to David Juarez, who would truly be missed. I remember I had the opportunity of being principal of the day, and he would always come to me when I was doing grounds and say, hey, your school's ready for you. I always teased him about his fancy car, and he had the smile that was just a charmer to anybody. He was a really nice guy. He would truly be missed. I would like to take this moment to thank Danny Tillman and the board for not bending under pressure and making the right decision and keeping our school closed for the rest of the year for our student and staff safety. Also to Sam Precy, facility manager, who took a quick and immediate action when he seen the COVID cases on the rise. with working with CSEA, I feel his quick decision saved lives by putting the workers' safety first. For that, we thankful for. It is a new day for CSEA. We are stronger than ever. It is an honor to say, for the first time in 33 years, that we have a female president. Only Jimenez is dedicated and fighting for what's right for our classified employees, and she has a whole new team that is stronger than ever, than the district had ever seen. We look forward to working with the district and doing what is right for our workers. To our classified brothers and sisters, rest assured that your new stronger union will not flex or bend when it comes to fighting for what's right. When it comes to your safety and wages, you are not alone in the scary times. We will not run from COVID. We will not hide from COVID. We will stand strong and we will stand firm. We will prevail. You have my word that better days lie ahead. The sounds of kids on the playground will soon come back. Traffic jams in front of the schools. The sounds of football games will soon fill the silent nights. The lights will overtake the now dark nights. We are going through some tough times, but as long as we are going, and we will not stop until we prevail. One last thing to remember, tomorrow is never promised to no one, so let's love one another and today, and we will get through this together. Thank you and good night, and God bless.
Thank you. We are now at 7.3, Communication Workers of America. Is there a representative? No representative? If not, I will go to 7.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. Is there a representative? All right. Okay, we are now at our presentation. 8.1, Governor's January Update, Budget Proposal 2021-22. Hello.
Madam President, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I had a comment.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank SBTA and CSEA leadership for their comments and their very caring ways of protecting their members and so forth. And also appreciate very much what you said at the end, that we have to love each other and care for each other in these hard times. And just appreciate you both very, very much. The board does. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Flores. Okay, Dr. Volkermer, you can cue up your team.
Great, thank you. Thank you, President Rogers. Board, as you know, as we start to look at the 21-22 school year, the first step in the budget process for next school year is the governor's initial budget proposal, which comes out in January. The governor shared his proposal in early January, and since then, our teams have been working diligently with various agencies to unpack the budget proposal and what it means for our district. And I want to thank Janie and her team for through what is, I'm sure, a mountain of information when you look at a state budget, even in proposal form, in preparation for tonight's presentation. We just, as you are aware, and as we experienced last year, much can happen between now and June, and when the budget is finalized and adopted. But so far, so good. It's certainly good news to this point. And so it's our task this evening to bring you an update on the budget and the beginning of the budget cycle for the 21-22 school year. So Janie, please take it away.
Thank you. Can we get the presentation up, or is it up and I'm not seeing it? There we go. Great. So go ahead and move to the next slide. So Dr. Volkermer talked about, let's go back one, that it is a process. There's a lot of negotiations. Could we go back one slide? That take place from the time the governor proposes the budget. It goes to the legislature. There's a number of negotiations that occur. we'll wait till we get back to the slide. And then back one slide, please. So the Senate and the Assembly will amend or do other things with the budget language. And then in May, we get the governor's May revise. We'll also hear from the legislative analysts. So there's a lot of negotiations going on, but the good news is that the state budget is doing better than anticipated last June, which means more money for school districts. And so that's the great news for now. And if you'll remember from the first interim report, they called it a windfall. So they show the out years starting to have structural issues, but a windfall because this year's budget turned out much better than they anticipated in June. Next slide. The economies are remaining fairly strong in spite of everything. You know, the stock market's been doing well. Wages of high income earners have increased, which means more personal income tax. But COVID-19 and the economic strain has been disproportionate for lower earning employees who have lost service jobs, and so that's been very disproportionate. But the stock market and personal income tax has come in higher than anticipated. Next slide. So Prop 98, which is the funding that's for K-14, is at an all-time high of almost $86 billion. If you'll recall, in 2011-12, it was at $47.3 billion. So you can see how much it's grown since that emerging from the Great Recession. So the governor's proposing to fund a COLA next year. And you know, we didn't get a COLA this year, so it's a compound. He's going to pay us for this year's COLA and next year a COLA of a total of 3.84 is the proposal, up from a 0% is what we thought when we showed our multi-year projection to you. So a rough estimate of that COLA is about $18.5 million that's ongoing. So that's quite significant, great news. They're proposing to pay down the deferrals, 2/3 of them. So we'll still have to borrow money this year for the spring, but in the budget year, next year, they're proposing to pay them all off except the one that is from June to July in 22. And then keeping the lower rates in the budget year for PERS and STIRS. Next slide. His proposal has a number of different funding, the $4.6 billion for summer school and before and after school. I think it's going to be allocated on the unduplicated count. We don't have a lot of details on this, so the trailer bill language will be emerging soon. The $2 billion on the immediate action, prioritizing in-person instruction. You're going to hear all about that in the next presentation. Additional funds, there's a myriad of additional funds they're proposing for early childhood support, including some construction funds for all-day kindergarten and TK, special education investments, things because we have both a teacher shortage and we want to ensure that there's teacher preparation for our instructors. Next slide. So this is just a snapshot. Let me explain to you. At first interim, we shared with you that in order to maintain our 2% reserve in 20, 21, and 22, we would have to cut at least 8.4 million, and the following year, 56.5 million. By just adding the COLA, you can see it pushes that need to cut for a 2% out to 22, 23. We don't recommend that we wait to make reductions until then, but you can see what an impact it is to get a COLA or a projected COLA. It also reduces our structural deficit by about $20 million. So that's all good news. This also assumes that we continue to reduce staffing as enrollment declines. And so that's all part of our multi-year. And we'll have an updated multi-year for you in March at the second interim as we continue to get into all the information on what's the legislature is going to approve and what the governor's proposed. Next slide. Here's the great news. So we are expected to get new one-time federal funding for next year. This is the first, there's supposed to be more beyond this, but It's about 103 million for our district. We think it's for next year. We don't have when it will be issued, but it'll be similar to what we received for this year and how we can spend it. So this is excellent news for us as we move into the budget year. Next slide. So the COLA and one-time state and federal dollars will improve the budget outlook, and they will push some of those required reductions out. It means we still have to be, diligent about reducing as needed based on our enrollment. We do not at this time recommend a supplemental early retirement program incentive. You'll often hear it referred to as a SERP, as required reductions in FTEs to align with declining enrollment can be done through natural attrition. A SERP will often accelerate the number of folks that want to retire, which means we'd have to replace them, and there is a national teacher shortage, so we do not recommend it at this time. Next slide. And then just as part of our multi-year projections, the governor has proposed that we have a hold harmless on our ADA. So you can see that in the gold chart that we can use the 1920 levels. You see for 21-22, we can still use the 1920 if that's the higher ADA. But then there's the cliff that we have to use our actual ADA when we get to 22-23. So that's where, and the PERS and STIRS goes up. So that's where those cuts are more significant. Next slide. And just a reminder that multi-year projections are not predictions or forecasts. They're just what the information that we have, the best information we have from our reliable sources on how we build our budget and bring that information to the board. It's required by AB 1200. And so as those underlying assumptions change, we update our budget and we inform you of those changes. Next slide. And then just what's ahead, you all are very familiar with this slide. There's a lot of things as we move forward, but we can celebrate for the day that we're going to be receiving some dollars to help with the needs that we have for next year. Next slide. And then our calendar, and you saw this at the first interim, and that's our presentation for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Christakos. And I am not seeing any board questions.
Madam President, I put in the chat.
A new one? Okay, I looked at it, I thought it was old. Okay, you go ahead, Dr. Flores.
Ms. Christakos, thank you so much, and your team for very clear budget presentation. I want to ask, you mentioned the natural attrition that we're going to have. Have you projected the amount of money that that we'll save based on those natural attritions, and not just only certificated, but also classified?
Yeah, we do that as part of our multi-year projections. So I can get that information out to you, how we incorporated that into our budget.
And also, I would like to know the cost savings that we're having because we're not open. I would like to see where we saved in all areas.
Okay.
And thirdly, I'd like to also see the cost savings of positions that have not been filled.
Okay, and we've been careful about filling positions if they're not actively working. Thank you, Dr. Flores.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And I don't see any additional questions. So I am going to go to 8.2, our San Bernardino City Unified School District readiness update. And Dr. Volkmer, I can't see, the screen is kind of weird tonight, but I know you're there somewhere to queue up the team.
I'm here. Thank you, President Rogers. As you know, board, at the very, very end of December, the governor announced a new plan for resuming in-person instruction. And as you can imagine, when those types of things happen, it creates lots of questions and lots of conjecture. And so I want to say up front that our messaging thus far throughout the district has been that the district's direction has not changed from the decision that the board made, very courageous and data-driven decision, that the board made on November 17th to remain in distance learning for the remainder of the current school year. So we have not told anybody that, oh, this changes things at all. In fact, we only received the plan. It was announced in late December. We only received the plan late Thursday. So we've had all of, really 1 or 2 work days. And I want to commend our staff for scouring every piece of information prior to receiving the plan, and then spending a good part of our weekends poring over the details to be able to give you a presentation this evening. As you'll hear, the plan takes $2 billion of Prop 98 money, which is state guaranteed money to schools, and proposes that it be used as a grant to incentivize districts returning to in-person instruction. And it is important to note that at least through today, unless someone got information that I don't have quite yet, that the legislature has not approved this funding source. So the governor has proposed it, but the legislature has not said, yes, let's use Prop 98 money toward that end. And so it's really a plan without financial backing at this point. But in any case, we want to make sure always that the board has the most recent and pertinent information in regard to guidance for our schools. Thus, the presentation this evening is basically just to bring the board up to speed with the elements and the requirements of the plan. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel and the rest of our team to take you through what we've learned about the Safe Schools for All plan so far. Rachel, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Volkemer. If we could pull the presentation up, please. There we go. All right. Well, thank you, Board President Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, Board, Dr. Volkemer, Cabinet, and Community. I do want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. This is my first opportunity to do that, even though we're almost 3 weeks into the year. Tonight, as Dr. Volkemer said, you're going to be provided updates on the latest guidance that was released from the state. It's entitled California's Safe Schools for All. You heard our SBTA president speak to it. And so we're going to give you a bit more detail of what we understand about it at this time. It is a grant program, and the governor did release it in collaboration with the Department of Public Health. As Dr. Volkemer said, and you're going to hear me say it multiple times throughout the presentation, it is still pending legislative approval. And I too want to thank the incident management team. Those are our various directors in the district who took time this weekend to really make sense of this guidance that was just shared. So with that, next slide, please. We have 4 objectives for tonight. As always, we will review with you, Board, our COVID-19 cases to date, both by county and our local school district. Then we will share the 4 pillars of this California Safe Schools for All plan, discuss implications for our district, and then we're going to close out by highlighting distance learning in action, our SBCUSD demonstration teachers. So we're in for a treat on that. Next slide, please. So Board, it's over a month ago on December 15th when you met, and at that meeting you recognized Mike Gallo for his 9 years of service to the SBCUSD governing board. And then you swore in our newly elected members, Myra Ceballos, Dr. Hill, Dr. Wyatt, and Ms. Rogers for, and all of you, congratulations on your successful election. You also approved a plan to increase energy efficiency, reinforcing SBCUSD's leadership in environmental responsibility and saving costs for the district and the youth that we serve. The SBCUSD first interim budget report pointed to a possible 1-year delay in the need for major budget savings, but we already have some change on that, right? At the state, based on state of California. And we were able to approve a positive certification on that day. So congratulations. And then finally, at the December 15th board meeting, you recognized the challenges of educating our youth through distance learning as it was showed in student achievement data, most specifically quarter grades, and you acknowledged the district's effort to help students succeed. So that was a very busy board meeting in December. Next slide, please. So again, Board, as a reminder to you and to our community, anyone who may be new, finding out what's going on in the district, you've had 4 guiding principles for possibly reopening in-person learning for the district, and you have stayed tried and true to these principles. First and foremost, ensuring the health and physical safety of students and staff while adhering to federal, state, and county guidance. In doing that, we still want to make sure that we're providing high quality learning experiences and safe and accessible working conditions for the employees that are employed by the district. Tonight, again, there was new guidance that was released on January 14th. And so we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date guidance from our state. Next slide, please. So board, on November 17th, so it's been 2 months now, you took a very courageous step and said we are not going to continue planning for any in-person learning experiences, what we were calling phase 3, for the remainder of this school year, unless it's deemed safe to do so. And if we do that, that would be phase 2, where we may have some small cohorts of students coming in. But as a district, we are to stay in distance learning and continue to improve the instructional quality of distance learning for our youth and our educators, supporting them to be the best that they can be, and monitoring COVID rates to see if we can offer any in-person. So we stay in that model of phase 1 distance learning. And from there, though, again, we want to make sure you have the information of what's going on at the state level. So next slide. So with that, board, we acknowledge it is your board action that would trigger any offering of in-person learning experiences. And that would be based off of adherence to state guidance, decrease in local transmission rates, making sure we have all that PPE out and distributed, and the appropriate PPE that our schools and our classrooms are set up for physical readiness, and that staff is trained. Because of the announcement from the governor, we have some change in the adherence to state guidance. Again, it is incumbent upon us to make sure you have that information. And so we will be sharing the details of what we understand about that with you tonight. Before we get to that, though, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Vertier so he can let us know how things are going with our COVID transmission rates.
Thank you, Dr. Menares. Good evening, board, and Happy New Year. Just a reminder of where we are. You'll see the widespread criteria is more than 7 cases per 100,000. So we're far away from that, and I'll show you on the next slide. And one more, please. Thank you. So board, as you see on this slide, we remain in the deep, widespread purple tier. The city of San Bernardino, as you've heard this evening, is still showing over 200 new cases a day. Within our school district boundaries, we're still seeing new cases in the 150 range. The district continues staffing mission critical functions while ensuring the majority of our workforce remains safer at home. Our county remains on a regional stay-at-home order as our ICU bed capacity is still at 0%. And as you mentioned, Dr. Flores, most of our hospitals down here also remain at surge capacity, operating with overflow tents. I've seen hallways and gift shops and cafeterias be converted into bed space. Our regional 911 ambulance plan is routing different ambulances to out-of-area hospitals because of the capacity. And that is where we're at right now as far as the COVID case numbers. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Menares for a moment.
All right, Dr. Menares, I'm going to pause right there because I think you're going to go into the California Safe Schools presentation. Dr. Flores?
Oh, good. I don't know why, but it doesn't show my name when I want to chat with you.
I can see it. Yeah, I see your name.
Okay, great. Board and cabinet, I would like to make a recommendation. I don't know if we can add that to the conditions of opening our schools person to person, but figuring out once we have all the vaccinations, what majority do we have to, I want us to consider, what percentage of our kids and our staff need to be vaccinated for us to open person to person. I want you to explore that. I didn't see that in terms of the conditions for opening, and we never had that possibility before. So Madam President, I'm requesting for them to investigate that.
And I think what she was saying too, because as everybody was looking at what they had proposed, I don't know if that was even in there. So that's something, to add to the list of trying to dig through all of what those stipulations are. So
Yeah.
again, yes, so make note of that, but we just, again, want to remind everyone watching, this is an update on some information that we've received and is tied to a grant, but it is not changing the direction of what we have already stated. So thank you for that.
I also stand firm with what we decided.
Absolutely.
And as I said earlier, when Mr. Tillman gave our inspirational talk, I stand with that. And also we got backup from Dr. Leonardi, who also cautioned us to be vigilant. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Menares.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So yes, let's get a bit into the California Safe Schools for All plan again, and you'll see this on each slide. I'll say it over and over again. You'll probably ask me to stop saying it, but this is pending legislative approval. And so as you listen, we want to keep reminding ourselves of that. We also want to make it very clear that at this very moment, San Bernardino City Unified is not eligible to offer in-person learning experiences due to our high transmission rate of what you just saw that Mr. Batir shared. However, we could apply if the legislature approves the program and the board provides direction to apply. So we do have that opportunity. The timelines are very tight. And again, things may change based off what the legislature does. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or whats, but just want to make that as clear as possible for what we do know. Next slide, please. So the California Safe Schools for All is really built off of 4 premises, if you will, that the governor shared. First and foremost, before I get into the 4, this is a grant program. The intent is to incentivize districts to reopen for in-person instruction. That includes hybrid models of instruction. But again, it's pending legislative approval. But the why behind this are the 4 areas that you see on here. So there are really 2 twin goals that the governor spoke about. It's having safe and successful in-person learning for children, most specifically the younger students, which takes us across the house to the other part of the roof, which is based on the scientific evidence that the California Department of Public Health has to date. And so we know that with COVID, that is constantly changing. The evidence has shown that for younger students, the transmission rate is not the same. Now, we just heard from Mr. Leonardi something very different, right? So this guidance is based off of what the California Department of Public Health knows, based off of their trending of information, both nationally and internationally. The guidance gives authority, so now I'm down on the left-hand side, to the public health to give directives and to apply this information to all districts in the state that pursue the grant. So there's pretty clear guidance on not only what would need to happen at schools, but they actually gave us a lot of information on how it would happen. That's new, we didn't have that before. And so if we were to pursue the grant, it's pretty well laid out as to how this would happen. We fortunately we're in pretty good standing because we were already doing our own research and preparation for it. The final element of the I guess the why behind this program is it does take older guidance information that we received in the early summer and even in July, and it consolidates and it updates it so that all of the previous guidance is really null and void, with the exception of the guidance that was given on the small cohorts. That remains the same, but any new information is based off of this this framework that was just produced on January 14th. Now, as part of this scientific evidence that they allude to, if you can go to the next slide, I'll share with you what that looks like. And it's very similar to what we were already doing as a district. So they call them mitigating strategies to really slow the spread of transmission. And they're saying that in order to do that, we need to have the face coverings, symptom and exposure screening, cleaning and disinfection. This should all sound very familiar because this is what we were already doing with our getting our schools ready. We have to make sure that staff and parents are educated around the 6 foot of distancing, the hand washing, the symptom screening, that type of information. And the additional piece that they added was this idea of testing. Mr. Vatier will get more in detail into the testing. We do know that in order to do testing for a district, the most of the money, and we'll get again further detailed on that, that we could get from this grant would pay for the cost of the testing based off of the size of our district. So something to keep in mind, but nothing extremely new that we weren't already doing in preparation for a safe and healthy return. Next slide. So what is required of the grant? So we have to have a COVID safety plan, and that plan must conform with what the California Department of Public Health put out, as well as incorporate Cal OSHA emergency standards. Again, we'll go more detailed into this shortly in the presentation. We have to have agreement with our labor unions. You heard Ms. Vida Sakala mention that. So we have to have documentation of collective bargaining agreement or a memorandum of understanding, confirming that we've consulted regarding the COVID-19 safety plan. Offering in-person instruction. So if we want to get the most of the grant, then we would have to be ready to offer that in-person instruction by February 16th for our TK through 2nd grade students, and then all students, all grade levels who are students with disabilities, foster youth, homeless, or just students who don't have access to technology. So our higher need students. And then by March 15th, we would have to expand to our grades 5 or 6. So really covering our elementary schools. The next slide, don't turn it yet, but I will explain to you what does in-person instruction mean, because we weren't quite sure what that meant, but now we are clear. In addition, a requirement is of course the testing. And so we would have to be sure that we're testing all students and staff who are participating in the in-person instruction. And that testing has to be in accordance with the California Department of Public Health guidance. And then finally, we have to verify that all students in distance learning have access to a device and the internet to participate in online learning. So this is a high-level overview of what's required in the California Safe Schools for All program. Next slide, please. So board, you, like me and many others, are probably asking, what does in-person learning mean? And so straight from the guidance, the way it reads is what is on this slide. So operations or offering in person must be for at least one grade level at the school if the county permits that that school can actually open. And we have to offer the in-person learning to every child who is in that particular grade. So for example, if we were to say we're going to offer in-person learning experiences for our TK, our kinder, and our 1st grade students, then we have to make sure that we offer that for every single TK, kinder, and 1st grade student in our district, and let the parent decide if they want to participate or not. The parent can choose not to participate, and then the child would stay in distance learning. And we would have to offer the in-person for at least part of the school week. So we could do hybrid, and that counts. But the whole premise behind the in-person is to offer it to everybody, which is different than the small cohorts, where with the small cohorts, we're identifying students with the highest need and asking them if they'd be interested in participating. So that's the distinction about in-person learning. That we have to allow all students of that grade level to participate and let the parent make the decision as to whether they are going to participate or not. Next slide, please. So the criteria for opening in-person experiences. First of all, you have to be located in a county that's either red, orange, or yellow tiers. So we already know that that's why we're not eligible. And those districts that are in that county or at that tier level have to have their COVID safety plan completed and posted at least 7 days prior to reopening. So posted meaning on the website so that anybody can have access to it. The K-6 schools and counties in the purple tier, so that's us, We have to have a case rate, well, if we have a case rate over 25 out of 100,000, we're not allowed to reopen. So again, that's us, but we may apply. Schools may not reopen for grades 7 through 12 if the county is in the purple tier. So our middle school and high schoolers are not eligible. And our 6th graders at our elementary are, the 6th graders at the middle school, it does not appear that they would be eligible, just our 6th graders at the elementary. But we must get some clarity.
I'm sorry, are you getting ready to go to the next slide?
I guess I am.
Okay, so I'm going to pause right there.
Perfect.
So that you can begin the 4 pillars, but Mr. Tillman?
Well, yeah, I'll go, but I could have waited to the end. But my whole thing is, it's obvious that when the governor put this together, because it's the governor's office, it takes a long time to do anything, right? So they're not real nimble about responding. So it's obvious to me, they didn't even factor in this new variant of 117, because if they had, they would realize that a lot more students, a lot more young people are getting infected. And we know that variant is local now. So my only question is, we don't have to apply for this grant, right?
That is correct. We do not have to apply.
Yeah, and I would suggest that we don't.
This is an informational only.
Yep, informational only. But we don't want.
Madam President, I don't know why my name isn't coming up.
And
but I also have my name
let me finish by saying, I think it's important that we give clear information to our parents and students and employees. And the one big thing is we're still in the purple, right? So even that would preclude us from opening even under these guidelines. And the chances of us coming anywhere near out of purple in the next month is not real good. And we said that a long time ago. But I would just say, to be clear, everybody, that we don't apply for the grant, because it doesn't make any sense. If the schools that are going to open, if those numbers go up in terms of the new variant 117, it's going to be a nightmare for those districts. And I wouldn't want to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Dr. Flores?
Yes, I don't know if Daniel can fix this, but my name doesn't come up and it just keeps looping to the former questions that I asked.
It comes up after. It's like you have a strand all of your own. I've never seen it before.
I know, it's weird.
It's going on a strand and then it pops up. And I can,
right.
Okay.
But I concur with Mr. Tillman, and I also think that we should spend our time on working on getting vaccinated, on getting our kids and staff and all our staff, our certificated and classified, getting vaccinated. And I think I would like to propose that we work with the county, that our schools be hubs for vaccination, you know, and that we work in tandem. And that way we would, you know, cover our bases, but also provide that service for our other families that, you know, live in the vicinity of those schools. So that's what I would like you to look into, Dr. Volkemer.
Okay, so again, just for clarity purposes, and I think we're all kind of looping around the same thing, the district is bringing forth a presentation. We're in no wise voting to change anything that we've already done. So as normal, they're just providing us this updated information because it is in fact out there. And so the president is a little bit more into the presentation, but again, this is an informational presentation just as they have done in the past to let us know, you know, what the updates are coming from the governor.
Right. I understand that. I clearly understand.
This is definitely for the uh-oh. Is there someone else making a comment? I don't know what happened.
Somebody was interfering, whoever the translator is, I think.
Yeah, it might be our translator. So again, you know, like I said, we all are being clear on that this is informational only because we don't want people to get alarmed and think that we are, you know, doing something different other than just receiving information. So Dr. Flores, there's another part of this board. There's another part of this information, and that's what she's going to finish up right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So the next slide, please. So now we're going to go a little bit deeper into this California Safe Schools for All. There's actually 4 pillars. The first one is funding, then there's safety and mitigation, oversight and assistance, and then finally transparency and accountability. Myself and Mr. Batir will speak on those 4 pillars, and I'm going to start with funding. So next slide, please. So as you said, Mr. Tillman, you know, this is proposed. It's a $2 billion proposed state proposal to the state budget to offer this in-person learning experience. As I previously shared, that the intention is to prioritize our youngest children, K through 2nd grade, to start, and then to add the remaining elementary grade levels a month later, and then to also focus our most disproportionately impacted youth, grades K through 12. The district would, it's approximately $450 per student with some possible additional funds for the unduplicated count of low-income English learners and foster youth. So as a district, potentially $20 to $30 million that we could qualify for with this grant. But again, we already did a little bit of calculation on what it would cost to just do the testing. And we're looking at anywhere between 15 to 20 million to implement testing for TK through 6th grade for 3 months, you know, the students and the staff. So keep that in mind when you see that budget number. And then finally, again, we can apply, but we're not eligible to safely offer anything until our case rates drop to 25 out of 100,000 residents. Mr. Batir will go into the safety and the remaining pillars from here. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Dr. Menares. Board, Pillar 2 covers safety and mitigation, and I have a couple slides here on that. As you've heard, and kind of just reiterating this, Pillar 2 of the plan, in where we're currently sitting in the widespread tier, so anything above 14 new cases per 100,000 would call for weekly testing of all the students and staff that would return to a campus until the transmission rates decrease to under 14 per 100,000. As you heard Dr. Menares, and it said several times, our team's currently doing its due diligence and a feasibility study on the state's reduced cost lab option. You see it listed on there. Preliminarily, we estimate we would need to conduct about 25 to 30,000 tests a week if we brought back the elementary population. And you heard the estimated cost of anywhere between 15 and 20 million, and that's for the tests alone, not for all the logistics that would be required around that. We're still in the preliminary phases of investigating that because, again, we just received it a couple work days ago. We're also exploring our partnership with Borrego Health in our community, who has been partnering with us to do testing for our employees, and they'll be doing that again tomorrow at the Board of Ed, seeing if they could expand as we move forward into this. So next slide, please. So Board, the second part of Pillar 2 is the PPE and contact tracing and then vaccinations, and I'll cover the vaccinations on the next slide. There was a change that was abruptly made by the state in which it is recommending the distribution of surgical masks, the wearing of surgical masks, the blue surgical masks for our school staff. Fortunately, under the board's great guidance from the onset of this pandemic, we've been purchasing PPE and have a good cache of about 780,000 surgical masks in the district. So we believe we're good on the PPE side of the house. With that, the state would also begin a school portal for outbreak tracking so that they could improve the coordination between the districts and local health officials. We haven't seen what that may look like or seen much more than the wording on that. And then the state was going to begin employing contact tracers to improve the communication, improve the work between schools and the local public health offices. Next slide, please. So Board, what this slide is showing you is the current vaccine phases and the estimated months for the next phases for both San Bernardino and the surrounding counties. School personnel and those age 65 and plus, which was a recent change, are in phase 1B. As you can see here, only Riverside County is currently offering the vaccine to school personnel. School personnel, including our employees, may get their vaccine in either their county of residence or their county of employment. And that's something very important for us to share with our union groups as we move forward in this, and all of our employees, so that once it becomes readily available, we're partnering to make sure we get the messaging out. We're also partnering, and Dr. Flores, you hit the nail on the head with this. We're partnering with Department of Public Health now to make sure we can host as many vaccine locations for our community, our families, our employees as we can. Once Department of Public Health is ready, I'll actually be walking some of our high school sites tomorrow in the Department of Public Health's planning phase for that exact thing. And then we know the Department of Public Health is working to encourage everyone to go to their doctors, go to different clinics to get the vaccines once it's available for the general public. And distribution is free, so it's federally funded, the distribution of the vaccine for everyone. So there will be no co-pays to employees. It'll be offered free of charge. And so you can see here, just on this slide, these are estimated dates based off of what we know now. And we believe San Bernardino, Los Angeles, and Orange will move into the next phase for school personnel in February. And then in phase 1C, that's where age 50 to 64, it will be available for them. And these are still going to be all by appointments in April, May, March, April. And then ages 16 to 49 are listed in phase 1C if they have underlying medical conditions. And so you'll still see that we're still a few months out from that. And then the general public, we believe, will not be able to see a vaccine readily available with locations, vaccine locations all over the place until well into the summertime. Next slide, please. Board, as you heard Dr. Menares mention, the Pillar 3 does talk about our COVID safety plan. So we've been ahead of this as it relates to the OSHA side of it, and that is one of two areas for this. So we had to have OSHA compliance plan, OSHA COVID prevention plan, and that is completed. We do have a template that we have to use through the state of California that was just provided to us 2 days ago that we're really looking at as part of this grant program that would have to be completed, and then the strict timelines and approval processes, including our labor groups, our families, our community, all with trying to meet some type of February deadline if we were to apply for this grant. And then the state's establishing a Safe Schools for All team where they're going to have multifaceted agencies that would provide hands-on support to schools, training material, webinars, ongoing technical assistance. Again, these are just some key takeaways from their presentation. We haven't had much conversation or seen what that would actually look like for us. Next slide, please. And this is just a little kind of flow chart that shows that we would have to do our COVID-19 prevention program here on the left in the blue, and then the supplemental school checklist where it would have to be posted. So on the state's website, consulting with our groups, labor, parent. We want to make sure that everyone has the safety plan, knows what the safety precautions are, and that it's readily available. It's not hidden on a shelf somewhere, or something we know and something our families don't know. We know the education piece and the comfort piece around COVID, making sure that we're in this together as a community. And then you'll see on the right side there the timelines that Dr. Menares spoke about a moment ago. And next slide, please. So the final pillar of the plan that we had received was the transparency and accountability. So what the state's proposing to do is create a state-ran dashboard that would show all the schools, their in-person learning status, any of the funding, the grant funding they received, and then also data on in-school transmission rates. So it would kind of be a running dashboard giving all the data to the public. And they also want to create a web-based hotline where the general public, staff members, families, community members could call with concerns. We're also working on that internally as the district to make sure that if any of our families, our employees, anybody sees an issue as it relates to COVID that we can get better at or we can make corrections on, that they have a method in which to engage us on that. And that's the update I have for you as far as these three pillars. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Menares. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vatier. We could go to the next slide. So board, here are the implications for this California Safe Schools for All grant program, and who's responsible, and then most importantly, where we are or how much time it would take and the progress of it. So Mr. Vatier already said that we've got, we're good to go on our written Cal OSHA prevention program. That is completed. We would have to work on the COVID school guidance checklist. Again, we just received that on January 14th, so that would be in progress. And that is part of the work that needs to be done in consultation with families and our labor unions. We have to really look at this testing availability and frequency. So Mr. Vatier mentioned that we're conducting a feasibility study as to how that would actually play out in our district if we were to offer any in-person. We anticipate being done with setting up all of our classrooms and schools to be ready for physical distance learning and all the PPE at the beginning of February. Negotiating the impact of the COVID school plan, so the CSP, that would need to be completed, and we're in progress with that. Dr. Funches is working with our unions, but that is definitely an undertaking. And then finally, we do have to be sure that we continue to offer distance learning for families who could bring their children, but they're choosing not to. Again, if we were to drop below the 25 out of 100,000 transmission rate and actually have applied for the grant. And we do have that in place where we could continue the distance learning. So that's the implications for our district if we were to move forward with the application. Next slide, please. So this is what we are doing, board. Per your action on November 17th, we are continuing to deepen implementation of the SBCUSD Core 5 Principles of Distance Learning. Ms. Applegate and the Ed Services team have really put a lot of thought and time into this, and they're working with our school leaders and through professional training with our teachers as well. So that's happening. We are continuing to prepare our school buildings, and we are monitoring transmission rates for any possible future small group in-person cohort learning experiences when you deem it safe to do so. We will continue to collaborate and negotiate with our collective bargaining units to improve upon distance learning and make sure all our MOUs are up to date. As Dr. Flores had mentioned or suggested, we too are thinking about and are working to work with our local health agencies around a vaccine education campaign, right? So we want to make sure that our families and our employees have the most accurate information. We recognize we are not the health experts. We would want to bring in the health experts to speak to our families and our employees, give them the necessary information. We also want to partner with them to be able to offer the vaccines using, as you said, Dr. Flores, our schools as hubs so that it is easy for our families to be vaccinated once they feel comfortable with the information that they receive through our campaign. So that is definitely something we are working on. And then because we don't wait in San Bernardino City, we are always forward thinking. We are beginning to collaboratively develop what we're going to call the SBCUSD Acceleration of Student Learning Plan, so that when we can bring students back into a learning environment that we all know, which means it's in person and everyone will be safe, that we can catch students up who may need to be caught up for whatever reason, and we can accelerate students using possibly summertime, using Jumpstart before school starts, using intercession, whatever that might be. So we want to collaboratively develop that with our teachers and our parents and our site leaders. So we're just getting ready to start reaching out to people to work on that. And with that, I'm going to
Dr. Menards, before you start the video,
Yes.
Dr. Flores does have a question, and then followed up with Mr. Tillman also has a question.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Menards and Mr. Vitier. This, I guess, is for Mr. Vitier. I would like to know demographic data for ages in our district regarding COVID-19 positivity rates and deaths. If we could get that information, is that possible?
Sorry, I wanted to make sure I was unmuted. Yeah, Dr. Flores, let me work with public health to see exactly how down in the weeds we can get with their data, and I'll get that.
Right, because that would really drive how we phase in our opening. If we see a high rate of positive, positivity in our kids and age groups, I mean, that would, alert us. I think the more data we have, the better. And also, how do we coordinate the processes of testing and vaccination? I mean, you're talking about testing, but what would be the coordination that we would have? And you also mentioned that we're going to, we haven't even costed out who's going to do it, right? I mean, how is that going to happen, and what is the cost to that? And then as soon as you get information regarding the phasing in of vaccinations, I didn't see in the list that you gave us for children, or was there a place for children to get vaccinated? I thought I just saw 16 and above, or is that correct? I don't remember.
Yeah, that is correct, Dr. Flores. So under the emergency use authorization for these vaccines, they have not authorized it for the use in children yet.
And so, given what Dr. Leonardi shared with us today, that's very concerning to me. And I'm saying this because so many of my friends have had deaths, their grandparents, their parents who are elderly, and it's been children that have exposed them. And, they're asymptomatic, or maybe don't have really severe symptoms, but when they do expose the, members of their family, there's a lot of deaths. There's deaths. And so I think we need to be really mindful of that. And then also, what will it look like for our staff and our students and parents once we coordinate, the vaccination and the testing? And those are really complex questions. and but the more data we have, the better, right? The more data we have, the better we'll be able to make decisions. I don't even know if it's prudent to even apply. I know you're giving us information to apply for this grant because the timeline to me is very short. And I just don't, and I'm very, very,
Did she go away?
She did.
Okay. I'll reach out. Go ahead, Mr. Tillman, and let me text her.
Yes, Madam President.
I wonder if they even have that.
Okay.
So anyway, those are the things that, and the last question is, do we have as a district a phased in plan for bringing back staff and students once we're vaccinated? So those are my questions.
All right, Mr. Tillman.
I don't know if Ginger got them all. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, Madam President, I think you said we're doing this for information.
Did you guys get them all, or did I phase out?
We got them all.
I believe they got them all. And yes.
Did I freeze? Madam President?
For like a second. And
Oh, I
then
can't hear you.
You can't hear me now? I think your computer is having difficulties, but I believe they got them. But when she does the recap, if not, we'll capture what was missed.
Oh, God.
If possible. Mr. Tillman, to your
Yes.
question, yes, this is.
So you said it was informational only, but Dr. Bernardino was saying that we did this and we could do this, and it's going to take us so much time to do that. That's not informational only. It almost gave you the impression that she was somehow trying to comply with this grant criteria. So I think it's important for us to be clear
Absolutely.
to the viewers that the board has not given direction to move forward with trying to apply or meet the criteria for this grant. Am I right in saying that?
You are absolutely right. We have no, we can discuss and we can talk, but we've made a decision. And this is some information that came out. I think her presentation kind of aligned in saying where we were, just in case someone thought it might be a great idea. I certainly don't believe it's a great idea. And I don't hear anybody else saying that it's a great idea.
And let me say, I think it's important because there are districts. I got a call last week. A gentleman called me and said, hey, my brother teaches in Los Angeles. They told him he's going to go back to, he has to go back to work next week, and they're going to be in-person school on this date. And I told him that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I said, well, I would love to give him advice on how to talk to the school board. There's only a few weeks before he'll get his vaccination. It made no sense to me that a district would even be talking about that, right? But there are districts talking about that.
Correct.
And just before he's supposed to go back to school, he called me and said, hey, my brothers got notice that they're not going back to school on that date, right? So a lot of districts are responding slowly, but it causes stress and chaos within the district. Yes. And it's obvious, and it's not obvious to everyone, but it's obvious to me, just understand statistics. If our numbers are 125 to 100,000, it's going to take a lot of time for those numbers to go down. So to even give the impression that we even think we're going to have a chance to do what they're talking about, and I thought I heard Dr. Bernard said you have to bring all the kids back.
You have to bring that whatever grade level was selected. Let's say first grade, we have to invite all first graders to attend. They don't all have to attend at the same time, but we do have to give the families the option. Yeah.
So none of that makes any sense. So we said this a long time ago. If we're in January the 19th already, for the numbers to go down in a couple of months, I agree with Dr. Flores that we should be moving towards helping with vaccination and then opening up schools when we can. That should be the goal. But I want to make sure that in the end, after this presentation, someone needs to say that we're not going forward with applying for this grant.
So let me say it. We're not going forward with applying for this grant.
Thank you.
Okay. And to the questions again, I really appreciate the district's information, because even woven into this for local health agencies and vaccines, and Dr. White and I got a chance to see the presentation prior. That's why I wanted to make sure a lot of the questions were going to be answered, because we're moving forward with the when we can do so. That's why we adopted when it's safe to do so, because all of this falls within guidelines. There's stuff coming out, but for our viewing audience, a lot of times we'll hear it in a different city, like you said, a different county. And so we're being clear on the next steps for San Bernardino City Unified School District. However, that information is coming out, and someone may have thought it is a good idea and, really to bring back kids, but we couldn't if we wanted to, actually. So informational only. Again, hopefully we were clear on this. We got our update. We appreciate it. The district did a great job updating us on that. And now we're going to see a wonderful presentation video of our students.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Tillman, for your question. We too are there with you. We just wanted to be sure in case anybody did want us to go in a different direction, so you had an idea of what that would look like. So before we start play on this, I do want to give some kudos to our SBCUSD demonstration teachers, our employee development wing, and our employee development wing within our human resources division. just some data points. So our demonstration teachers this year have had 525 lessons that were observed by their peers. This is to date. They have presented 540 trainings to site and district staff. They've supported 23 student teachers. They've published 73 screencasts so that their peers can go in and look and see what's going on and get some ideas on how to do this distance learning. And then finally, they've onboarded 50 teachers to the profession. And they've done all of this while educating our scholars. So kudos to our demonstration teachers. We greatly appreciate them. And with that, if we could run the video.
Kind of what ballot is together. We're going to go through the rhyme scheme together and just kind of figure it out. What does a ballot mean? Here's another sample of a ballot that I wrote. My heart is all broke, but I'll fix it for you. With glue and with tape, I'll remix it for you. So this one I wrote with y'all in mind because I think somebody in this class said I should rap. That's about as close to rap as you're going to get from me. It's the lines of poetry. You have 15 minutes to write for me a ballad. And then drop an image in the box that symbolizes whatever you were putting in that ballad. Guys, I want you to create. Creating is the highest form of learning, is to create. And I want to see you create, and I know you can do it.
Okay. In the dark, from afar, I looked up and seen a star. Oh so big, oh so bright. This big star says goodnight.
Yay, I love it. Very, very much fits the ballad. You have the poem, the rhyme scheme correct. Oh, and the picture is awesome. It definitely fits your theme. Thank you, Maurice. That was beautiful. Thank you. Well done.
Next, we have trends. Now, this is a fairly new one. We haven't focused on this for too long. So talk to me about trends. What are some keywords that I might think about if I were looking for trends in my text that I'm reading? Laura, help us out.
It happens over and over again.
Oh, okay. So something that might happen more than once. So that's more of a pattern. But patterns and trends are definitely related. Mason, add to that.
It's like something that you start doing and you start liking it. So you do it for a little bit and then you just stop doing it and then you get back into doing it.
When we think about our texts, think about the different trends that we've noticed in things that Malu has started to do.
How do we make a sticky note?
Oh, great question. So do you see on the screen this side, the left-hand toolbar over here? So this one that looks like a sticky note is the sticky note. So you just click it and it automatically pops up a new sticky note. So it's a question of ethics. Is she doing the right or the wrong thing? And it's also a question of multiple perspective.
All right, we're going to take notes on 2 examples. That's it, 2 examples, okay? Fractions are nothing more than division, so don't let the fractions trip you out. Like, oh, Miss Perry, I don't like fractions. There's no such thing as fractions, guys. It's just division. Okay, good job writing this down. Enrique, you're good? You wrote it down? Then Judith, camera check. I can't see your eyes, Judith. Slitty, you're on task. Thank you, Cellbone, for being on task. Oh, wait a minute. We got an activity. Ready to climb? Let's climb the mountain. Here we go. What I want to do is I want to collect the notes before I forget. So if you have your notes, hold them up right now. And if I call your name, I got it. Jesus, Daniel, Enrique, get your notes up. Myra, notes. Let's just get everybody. Judith, notes. You're my last one. Judith, notes. Well, bam. All right. That's the whole class. We're good. Put them down. All right. Good job, guys, on the notes.
Yesterday, we read words with soft C and soft G, wrote our opinion, and used a picture graph. We also listened to a folktale about sharing and solving arguments. So I want you to take a second and think. What would you do if you saw two of your friends arguing over a piece of candy. Damien, we haven't heard from you yet. If you saw two friends arguing, what would you do?
I saw two kids arguing with the two candy. I would cut it in two pieces.
Ah, very good. So if the candy can be shared, you would cut it into pieces and give one to each friend. That's a good solution. I like that.
Great job. All right, Dr. Menorez, was that the conclusion? That is the conclusion of your presentation?
That is the conclusion, Ms. Rogers. Thank you so much, board.
Thank you again so much for bringing us the real life action of what takes place behind the scenes. Great job. We're now moving to reports and comments. 9.1, board members. Board members, if you would like to make a comment, could you put your name in the chat? Can they hear me? They went silent on me. Where are they? Okay, I can see. I see Dr. Flores.
Thank you, Madam President. I have an inquiry. I would like to ask where we're at with Footsteps to Brilliance in terms of the offer that they gave for all of our 0 to 5 kids in our district boundaries and all the families, and also the addition of, I believe, 2 programs. So I would like an update of where we're at. I don't need it right now, but I would like for us to find out where we're at in terms of that. And I would like to congratulate our our senator, U.S. Senator, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. It's a great honor to have her as our first woman of African and Asian Indian heritage to be and a woman to be our vice president. So I'm very excited. I'm excited that Alex Padilla is our senator, our California senator, and I'm excited that Assemblywoman Shirley Weber was appointed to his position as state secretary. I love that woman. She is so incredible. And I also want to say from California, we have another secretary on the Biden-Harris cabinet, Javier Becerra, Health and Human Services. Yay. And then recently, Superintendent Cindy Martin was appointed Deputy Secretary of Education. That's a great appointment. Teacher, principal, superintendent. I think we will be well represented. And of course, another Californian, Jane Yellen, who will be the Secretary of the Treasury. So I think Biden's cabinet is California rich. And then I also want to congratulate Assembly Member Eloise Gomez-Reyes, who was appointed Majority Leader of the Assembly. That is just really incredible. And I just want to give her the best congratulations from all of us. So I'm really jazzed about all of that, right? And given that we passed resolutions today about, celebrating African-American history, and also because of Martin Luther King's birthday, and all, not just because of his birthday, but what he represented to us. And in terms of, he gave his life for for African-Americans to move forward, not just them, but everybody who was disenfranchised and marginalized. And I want to recommend to Miss Applegate Goldie Muhammad, Dr. Goldie Muhammad. I don't think you can see this book. Oh, it's backwards, sorry. It's called Cultivating Genius, an equity framework for culturally and historically responsive literacy. She has, I'm going to read that. She presents a teaching learning model that brings the history of illustrious African-American literary societies to bear on the way we teach today. African-American literary societies were conducted in homes, and they dealt with critical analysis of literature, but she has now turned that into a four-layered framework on identity, skills development, intellect, and criticality. And it is a great model. I got this book and I read half of it in my first sitting. That's how great this book is. So Miss Applegate, Dr. Muhammad, Cultivating Literacy. Cultivating Genius.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Hill?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to say to Dr. Rachel Benares and her team, thank you so much for that informational material, and thanks for keeping us updated. You did a fabulous job. I also want to go back to our, our last board meeting when Dr. Volkmer gave me accolades for the 3 awards, and I left Ms. Rogers hanging because she said she got 4. And I guess it was the time of the evening because I couldn't think of what it was. Well, it was from an organization who honored me as an outstanding evangelist. So I don't know how I could have ever forgotten that one because I've never been called an evangelist to my knowledge. But I did want to say that Ms. Rogers knew what she was talking about, and I just had a senior moment, so I'm sorry. I want to also share with you that February the 27th, we're having the National Sorority Phi Delta Kappa is having its 38th annual Black History Bee. It's going to be virtual, and it's going to be different than anything we've done before because they will focus on music, singing, dance, spoken words, rapping, poetry, and speech. So it's going to be a little different, and we'll get information out to you and the community. We want you to watch it because we need your feedback, but we think it's going to be outstanding. I also want to take the time to say thank you to our classified, certificated, and cabinet members. You are so appreciated. We know you work hard, and we don't want anyone getting ill. We don't want students or anyone else getting ill. But I know we're working you awfully hard, all of you. And so one of the things I would like to say to my board members, you probably need to do an orientation because at one point we were doing the top 10 priority list. And I think since we stopped the top 10 priority list, then you probably got a top 30 priority list. And I still remember Dr. Morrison say, you can't do everything, but you do some things. And I know sometimes when we ask for stuff over and above what comes up out on the agenda, you get a little bogged down, but we hear you. We want you to work smarter, not harder, but we also want you to certainly reply to our requests, but we might need to take a look at how we do our priority list. I want to also say, I talked to Reverend Woods the same day that his dad, John Woods, passed away. And John was so special to me. He was the first African-American school board member, but he was also the one who encouraged me to get into the field of education. And I always appreciated him for that. So as I began to tell Reginald the story, Reginald said, Margaret, I can tell it as well as you can. But that's all my dad talked about, how he talked to you and going into education. So I just want the family to know that I certainly appreciate them, and I certainly appreciate Reverend Dr. Woods. And with that, I'm just saying to all of you, Happy New Year. We need to be safe. We need to wear those masks, and we need to do what we need to do for our young students. And with that, let's move forward. And remember, 2021 is not 2020, but we sure want it to be a little less than 2022. So thank you, everybody. I'm trying to use up my 3 minutes, my minutes, because I never do. And like some of you, now, what else can I talk about? I can't talk about anything except I wish all of you the best, and take care of yourself and be careful out there. This pandemic is no joke. It's for real, folks. And share that with, hope the teachers will share it with their students so they can take the message to their parents. And I just hope we all be careful and be safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Tillman, you do not get her 16 seconds that she had left. You're up next.
We didn't vote on a timer for school board members. But anyway, I want to say—
That's always been there.
No, it hasn't.
At the board meeting? At the last board meeting? When we were in person?
No, and now you guys cut into my time. But thank you to Nutritional Services for delivering those meals throughout the year and the holiday time. I've heard from the community members who actually who use those meals, and they're very thankful. They asked that we maybe give a variety, Ms. Christakis, that we can switch up the meals. They said we give the same thing all the time. Just a thought, probably wouldn't cost more money to do it, but they are appreciative of it, but they said that it would help if they have more of a variety and to make sure we taste test the meals. But in the end, everyone is happy that they're getting the food because it means a lot to a lot of people in terms of stretching their money when they buy food at other times. And then I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Hill and Ms. Rogers. You know, the only way I can get on the front page of the Sun if I'm hanging out with them. And they called me and said, hey, you know, can you meet us at the statue? We're going there for Black History. And man, I was like, wow, lo and behold, on the newspaper, I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't going to jail. I'm on the front page of the Sun just for hanging around with Dr. Hill and President Rogers. So just a hint to all y'all, you want to get on the front page and have a positive story on the front page and page 8. And this is important. Not only they run it in San Bernardino, I was getting calls from Rancho Cucamonga and Riverside. It's just nice to know we got big shots on the board. So I got to, again, thank Dr. Hill and thank you, President Rogers.
You are all right, Ms. Rosales Medina.
No, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone, to all the audience that's out there, as well as 2021. It is a year of hope. I know last year was really difficult for many. Many lives have been lost. I'm wondering, within those who have lost their lives through COVID, or family members that have lost their loved ones that work within our school district, if there's a support system for them as well, as I know that it can be really hard during this time. So I just want to make sure that we have some type of form, I imagine we do, where students, family members, as well as staff are able to access some type of support in that area. And if we don't have anything set, I know we typically have them for students. If we don't have anything set, if we could try to set something up.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. I'm looking at the chat, and I'm also looking at the raised hand thing if it pops up. I'm not seeing anything on any other board members. And if not, I'll make the comment and then we will go on to our next item. Okay, so again, as I said before, Happy New Year to everyone. And you know, we want to continue to stay safe and to continue to take COVID-19 serious. It is really a deadly disease that we are seeing people all around us pass away well before their time. And so we want to prevent that by being diligent about staying safe and doing all the things that we're being asked to do. Having said that, we know that as we're turning the corner and looking at the new school year or coming to the close of this school year, we still are forward thinking about making sure that we're looking out for the best for our students. So I made mention to this to Dr. Volkmer, and I want to get the information regarding the policies that we have around our graduation requirements. We were in another meeting with updates. Dr. Wyatt was in the meeting with me as well and had kind of mentioned this before, is about us looking at, we know we could do it for foster youth sometimes when we look at the graduation rates, because we know foster youth move around. But my understanding is we have a policy as well here in the district, and we don't want to wait until a student is right on the cusp and something is happening and we're saying, yes, but you didn't meet this graduation rate here in the district. They're already talking about it at the state level, about some legislation to put in place for those that may be challenged with their credits. So Dr. Volkmer, I don't know if you have some information on that tonight, but when you get to your comments, if you would address that, because I think it's important for us to look now to help our students now versus later to determine if we can, what can we do? Now, I'm not talking about the students with 9 credits. We know that that's something different, but I'm talking about those students that now have been challenged between our COVID restrictions and distance education and so on and so forth. So thank you again. And I am now going to move to 9 point, I'm gonna make sure no one else is in there. 9.2, superintendent and staff.
Thank you, President Rogers. I also want to add my Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everyone had a chance to spend some great time with family and get some rest and rejuvenation and just disconnect a little bit. No Zoom, at least one day with no Zooming around at all. So board, I did want to let you know that after this kind of COVID season, we're moving back and having an alternative to our regular LCAP 3-year plan. We are moving back to that cycle. We do have a new 3-year LCAP plan that's due at the end of in June. At the end of June, we have to have it approved. So we are having a meeting, our first of a number of meetings on January 27th from 5:30 to 7. We're advertising that widely. We want the community to be very involved in that process because it needs to be a collaborative process in terms of starting to build our next 3-year cycle, LCAP cycle. So January 27th, 5:30 to 7. In response to what President Rogers just said, in terms of some flexibility that you may have, board, in relation to your policies, we based on our conversation, we've taken 2 actions. We're taking a good strong look at AB 104, which is some proposed legislation around high school graduation requirements, to see what that might mean for us as a school district. We're also looking at, and I want to thank Karen Cunningham for doing the research on how you might temporarily change a policy for a particular class, in this case, obviously the class of 2021, around graduation requirements without having had to change your policy forever. And so we've done that background work already, and we'll get something out to the board about what options you may have and how we may want to proceed from here. So we are doing the background work on that, President Rogers.
Thank you.
And then a couple celebrations. Very happy to announce both in terms of school recognition, both for Cajon High School. Cajon's CareMates Club was recently highlighted by ABC 7 News for kind of a feel-good piece about the relationships that the club members have formed with residents of the convalescent homes that they partner with during COVID times. The segment focused on the positive difference that students have made in the residents' lives through outreach like writing to them and making artwork for them over the last 4 months. So this is a terrific example of the kindness and caring and above and beyond efforts that our staff and our students make to support our community during trying times. So we really want to give a shout out to the CareMates Club at Cajon High School. And then, board, as you know, Cajon, this is a big brag. So Cajon is the defending champion for the county's mock trial. And so they are knee deep in it right now. The county has changed the mock trial competition to a virtual competition. Cajon is in the semifinals. They'll be competing tomorrow and Thursday. If you would like to, they're allowing a limited number of spectators. So if you would like to spectate and be a part of that, please let Karen know ASAP, and we'll do our best to get you in and with at this late hour. But we're going to be rooting for our Cowboys to defend their mock trial championship and bring home that mock trial trophy again. And then finally, on February 1st, I know we've sent this information to you. The San Bernardino County School Boards Association will be hosting a virtual meeting on February 1st, and our recent Golden Bell Award winning program, Student Wellness and Support, will be being recognized at that program on that agenda. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please let Karen know. Looking forward to a terrific second semester of our school year. Thank you for your very clear direction about maintaining and remaining in distance learning for the remainder of the year. We're very solid with that moving forward, and looking forward to, like I said, a great second semester. Thank you very much. Those are my comments, President Rogers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Volkemer. We're now moving to our consent calendar, 10.0.
So moved. Second.
Okay. It's been moved, and I heard some seconds. So Karen, you duel it out between
you decide, Karen.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and take a vote. Dr. Flores? Or you, Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt?
Madam President, is this where I have to recuse myself though?
We're gonna pull those items.
Next, okay, well.
No, but you actually
You want to go ahead and pull them? You want to pull? Okay, we need to pull it now.
No, you need to pull them first. Yeah.
We need to pull it now.
That's why I was bringing
10. I think, is it 10.21 and 10.18?
10.18 for me, yes, thank you.
Okay, 10.2. We're pulling 10.18 and 10.21. And what I'll do, Dr. Wyatt, I will do up to 10, the 10.18, then I'll jump off and then you can complete from there. And then someone will let me know to come back on. All right, got it.
So do we take the motion again?
Yes, I am. I'm going to, let's reset that. So we are now at 10.1, approval of the consent items. Are there items of, okay.
Second.
All right, and we're pulling 10.18 and 10.21. Is that correct, Karen? I think so. All right, we'll take the vote. Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos? I can hear. Miss Dr. Wyatt?
We can't hear you, Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Okay, I got it. Dr. Wyatt?
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina? I'm hearing, like I can hear, but I don't hear.
Abigail, we can't hear you.
Aye, her audio's down in the chat.
That was Ms. Ceballos. Ms. Rosales Medina, are you there?
Good, I'll have you chat, it looks like.
Okay, I'm hearing. Oh, she said my audio is down. Okay, got it. Dr. Hill? Aye. And Ms. Rogers, aye. Motion carried. All right, Dr. Wyatt, we'll see how quick you can go in and out. Okay, 10 point, is he out? Because I can't see, the screens are just.
He's out.
Okay, 10.18.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second, and if there's no discussion, Dr. Flores?
Aye.
Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Rosales Medina?
Aye.
Dr. Hill? Aye. And Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Okay, let's see how fast we can get him back. Come back. We have to learn how to maneuver and keep all of our apps open.
I'm back.
Okay, I am going out. Leaving now.
All righty, Madam President. And I'm going to look at 10.21 on the opposite screen. So let me come on back now. And I can't see her. Is she off now?
She's off. So moved.
All right, thank you. It's been motioned and properly seconded by Dr. Hill. So I will go around and take a vote based on my screen. Mr. Tillman?
Aye.
Dr. Hill?
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos?
Aye.
All right, Ms. Medina Rosales?
Aye.
Medina? Pardon me.
Aye.
All right. And Dr. Flores?
Aye.
And then myself, aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. And let me go ahead and text her back in. All righty. I thought I saw her coming back in. Is she back in now? No?
She's back.
There she
You're
is.
on mute,
All righty.
Gwen.
Welcome back, Madam President.
I'm back. Did you do 11.0 or no? We're there?
Not, no.
All righty. We are now 11.0 action items. 11.1 personnel report number 11 dated January 19, 2021.
As presented. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. We are at 11.2 annual and 5-year reportable fees report for fiscal year 2019-2020 business services.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. If there's no discussion, Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. 11.3, Board Policy 3311.11, California Uniform Public Construction Cost Account Procedures, second reading, business services.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. If there's no discussion, Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina. Dr. Hill.
She's on mute. Abigail, you're on mute.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. 11.4, federal, state, local budget revisions, business services.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. If no discussion, Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. 11.5, Measure T and Measure N Bond Citizens Oversight Committee membership, business services.
So moved.
So moved.
Been moved and second. If there's no discussion, Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. 11.6, Resolution of District Emergency Inland Career Education Center, Business Services.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. No discussion. Dr. Flores.
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Aye.
Ms. Ceballos.
Aye.
Dr. Wyatt.
Aye.
Ms. Rosales Medina.
Aye.
Dr. Hill.
Aye.
Gwen Rogers, aye. Motion carried. We are now at 12.0, Summary of Board Member Request. 12.1, Review of Requests. Ginger, you are up.
Thank you, President Rogers. So, Dr. Flores, I believe I got all of your questions, but if I missed any during your freeze for a moment, please let me know.
I will.
Thanks. So the first request came from Dr. Flores. It was to provide her with the projected value of the natural attrition among our employees each year. The second question also from Dr. Flores. In fact, the first 9 I have are from you. So The second question is to provide the cost savings due to our closed campuses and offices from this year. The third question you had was the cost savings of positions that we didn't fill. Fourth was considering establishing a percentage for students and staff to be vaccinated before SBCUSD opens in person. Number 5 was to consider coordinating with county public health or our healthcare partners for staff and students to offer opportunities for vaccinations at our sites. Number 6 was the demographic data for COVID-19 positivity rates and deaths within our district boundaries.
By age.
By age. Okay, and you did clarify that after. Thank you so much. The number 7 was the details on the plan for testing and vaccinating of students and staff. Number 8 was details on the plan for phases of bringing back staff. You also mentioned students, but I know we've had that in terms of the 4-phase plan that we've talked about. So I kept it just to staff.
Okay.
The 9th question was to update on Footsteps to Brilliance related to families of children age 0 to 5 and the additional programs that were promised. And those were the 9 I got from Dr. Flores.
You did great. Thank you.
Excellent. Good. Okay. So then Dr. Hill asked that we consider ways to prioritize our board request list. Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina asked for information about any support system that we offer to families of employees who pass away, especially from COVID-19. And then President Rogers asked, although Dr. Volkemer may have answered this, for information about how to help students who may be challenged due to COVID-19 and distance learning in their understanding of our graduation requirements this year. And those were all the requests that I caught tonight.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Ontiveros. And we are now at 13.0, meeting adjournment, 13.1.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All right. Well, thank you so much, board members, for an efficient meeting. Let's try to do it again. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next board meeting. So good night and God bless and stay safe.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.